right, we're here with Cleveland Robinson. He is the owner and founder of Robinson House.
That's it,
Right.
Robinson House.
Robinson House Behavior.
That's the behavior side.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. How long have you been into therapy?
I've been in therapy now for about 4 years, and licensed for about 3.
Yeah. What pushed you in that direction?
Well, I've always been interested in helping people. So coming to therapy was kind of, and doing counseling, that's the official term of it,
Right.
was like kind of organic.
Right.
But I've been doing, social services, help type of stuff since high school. So I kind of wanted to go in this arena regardless. It was drug rehab at first.
Okay.
And then I just switched gears and fell into children. And then I started to kind of run into a lot of people who work with kids, who have behavioral health problems. Not necessarily all average kids, but just kids who are struggling with understanding life.
Exactly.
A lot of them happen to be at-risk kids. Majority in the city of Atlanta, Fulton County. And I said, hey, I guess they like me. I didn't know I was good.
Right. Right.
But I guess they like me and I like them. And so I just started putting all my energy.
Do you find it gravitational as far as?
100%. That's how it happened. It was 100% organic. And so when I started feeling, just the pull into working with kids and then doing counseling with them, especially black kids, I realized it was extremely, they were receptive to it.
Do you think it's because we don't have enough?
I know it for sure.
Yeah.
I know for sure. Ironically, they kind of know what it looks like. Everybody knows what a counselor is per se,
Right.
because kids have counselors in school. But to actually do psychotherapy with black children who are at risk, who may be impoverished, is new, to some of them.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's been impactful because really, I've noticed it. I do majority boys. And what I noticed is that for the most part, they enjoy having someone to talk to. Specifically a male. Let me be very specific here. Being a male counselor to black boys has been extremely impactful for me.
And what I was pulled toward you, in part was because of your focus on not only at-risk youth, which is close to my heart, but also minorities, the black community, especially the male perspective. I find that there's not enough support or understanding for this particular section of our society. What we try to do here, you deal with a lot of at-risk children. We don't, in the minority community, because we're so segmented, because it's still in our community, it's somebody else's thing. There's no suicide that's not somebody else's problem. There's not enough of a comfort level of a normalcy, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to normalize mental health, especially in the youth. Something that if they are going through something, it shouldn't be something they're ashamed to talk about. Right? It should be like you're talking about LeBron going to LA. It should be something as easy as that. Right? How do you find, because you're dealing with not only the at-risk and those with mental illness, but with their families.
800%.
What do you find is the biggest gap of understanding between the two?
Good question. Now, and I like to be as transparent as possible. Whenever I meet a child, 90+% of the time, I find the root of the issue in the family. Most of the time. Most of them do come from dysfunction. And even if they have a predisposition for something, more of a genetic-based disorder, the family dynamics perpetuates the serious symptoms that they have. And so it's always a bigger issue. So I find myself being an unofficial counselor to the mom. or to the dad, or to the uncle.
Right.
Regardless, every single time, it never fails. Because the problem is we really don't know how to communicate with each other when it comes to this type of field. We have negative behaviors from this child, and in our community, there are only several ways you deal with it. Spanking, cursing out. If your mom or dad doesn't curse, they talk to you hard. Sing it to your grandmother if you have them, or sing it to the pastor or somebody, which is one of the biggest ones, faith-based, which is another conversation in all of itself. We just don't really know what to do. I believe that 100%. That's been my experience. That is the gap. It's just not enough education, and it is research-based. That's one of the reasons why we have a lack of psychotherapy and help in the Black community. There is a disconnect between talking to the child, the mom, or the parent, and overall there's a disconnect between the actual education of what can help the family, period.
Do you find, because of the way we communicate with each other within our culture, when you are, say, unofficially a counselor to the parent, the grandmother, whoever is guiding this child, what percentage of the time do you find the family itself to be an obstacle?
50% of the time. Yeah, because all counseling is about culture. This is why when you're a counselor, you spend a huge amount of time, even in your counselor education, working on cultural competence. Is that nature? Because missing cultural cues can send you out of context when you're treating a family. And so our parenting style, let me say it that way, I think that's a good check mark. Our parenting style has a huge impact on, I spend a lot of time talking to parents saying, I know what you want to say to him, but try this. And ironically, sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't hang with it because, it's a certain way from culture that I don't care what he's doing, I don't care what he has, I don't care if it's chemical imbalance and he has to take his medicine, we still going to deal with him that way. So I do spend a lot of time saying, let's try this.
What we normally do, and what's the try this part? Because I think that would be very helpful. So what do you think are the most common, maybe miscues that we do instead of another more effective?
Well, that's a good one. I'm thinking about one of my recent clients right now. Black families are very authoritative. Do what I say, you don't ask any questions. And that's cool. I was very similar, but in counseling context, it doesn't work because Larry, right, or Lisa needs to understand. It's just how it is. Or you're going to see repeating these behaviors. And so because we're so authoritative, it does hurt. And so I have to guide parents and say, talk to them this way. Just try it. And I put on time limits. I say, try it for a week. Most of the time I never get any objection to that. Because by the time they come to me, parents that did last with saying anyways, so they willing to try anything. And so most of the time, my recent family is a couple. The husband's a little bit older, about like a generation or so, than the wife. She's much younger. They're like 15 plus years, something like that. And so he has a more stern way, and she has a more lenient way. It's still kind of stern, but lenient. It just comes from two different generations. So, I was working with him, the dad. I was like, you gotta try it. Just try it this way. He was like, it's gonna be hard for me because, I was raised in the 50s. But he tried it, and I felt real good because the next week, and I don't really share it all with the kids just yet. Next week, kid comes to me and says, what do I get? Man, my dad's been acting really strange lately. I said, but I guess I can get used to it. I said, what do you mean by strange? He hasn't been getting on me as much. So you know what I'm saying? Like those type of things. It works.
How receptive are the children? Or are they freaked out by the sudden change in in dialogue?
It depends. It all depends. Because we're conditioned for a lot of stuff.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it looks chaotic.
Mhm.
We're conditioned for chaos sometimes in some of these families.
Mhm.
And peace weirds a lot of people out. It's as strange as that sounds. Peace is strange for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Well, it's not detrimental, right? Do you find that we need, even though culturally we may not be acclimated to it, is there a way to heal in chaos? Or do we have to change the whole dynamic?
Sometimes you don't have no choice.
Mm.
Because if I'm going to certain neighborhoods, I'm only there for a clinical hour once a week. So that means that when I leave, even though there was an hour worth of safety there for this kid and for this family, an hour worth of peace for this family, when I leave, that doesn't stop the external influences. So yes, we have to be resilient and unfortunately live in chaos. And so my focus is always to give children and families, it's one of our big things, skills to be resilient. That's kind of like my thing. That I harp on more than anything. I go very top heavy on resilience because African Americans statistically will experience trauma more than any other ethnicity in the United States. Especially if you're impoverished or at risk, you're even 2 times more prone to experience trauma. That could be violence in the city, that could be verbal trauma, but those are the statistics. Doesn't mean you can't be healthy. That means you're going to experience trauma. How will you respond?
What methodology of resilience do you offer? Say a person, you're going to leave this person, and they're going to be in that environment. What are some of the most common coping mechanisms that you try to instill?
Well, I always have to take into consideration that children's minds are still developing. So the focus of most of that is impulse control. For those of us who are no longer teenagers, if you really, really think back, you can quickly get amnesia. There's some stuff we did, and I really look back and I'm like, why did I do that? Because I did. Impulse-wise. So I work on impulse control. Stop think is a big intervention you do. Trying to stop youth. If you just think for a split second before you act, the difference it'll make. Self-de-escalation techniques. Are you really that mad? Well, maybe not really. Why did you react that way? You know what I'm saying? Self-questioning. So stop thinking, self-de-escalation. We always have the regular stuff. Breathing, getting the ball, channeling your energy into something productive. That always works. We'll find something they want to do, and once they get hold to it, they won't let it go. So a lot of it's about channeling. A lot of black kids are angry, real angry. And so, we have to work on a lot of that channeling to try to get them to focus in a good way.
Nice. And so from the loved one's point of view, it is communicating rather than commanding, basically.
That's it.
Right. And then as far as the youth or whoever is going through the turmoil, it is to step back and assess.
Period.
Right.
If we can get them to that point. Just so quick to react.
What's the success rate? Do you think? Are they accepting? Or do you find your clients?
If I can really gauge it, I'm only speaking from my experience, because I don't know if there's a lot of research on what interventions work best with African American children. I'm sure there's something out there that I can't quote off the top of my head. From my personal experience of being in the field, though, 60% of the time it works.
Yeah.
The other amount of time, it's either sometimes I run out of time, because I do a lot of brief therapy. A lot of times, the kids move on. Sometimes, the families just kind of fade out. We only hang with therapy 50% of the time. It's African American families, unfortunately. But the clients that I do have been, good clients. Thinking back over time, I've seen some really marked improvements, which are good. Usually, you'll see it in grade performance, parents not calling you as much?
Recently, people have been communicating with me that either one, they're not getting the support that they need in the mental health community. I interpret that to mean that they don't know how to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, personally, my niece, a family member of mine, communicated that she had called the number and for where she was, that was not what she needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then most recently, a perfect stranger. Just that's what we communicate with people. She was not finding the support that she needed. Break down for me how, if someone who does not, a lot of us don't have each other. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
We might not have our parents. We might not have the grandmothers. You know what I mean? And especially if the family is not familiar
Mm-hmm.
or with mental health, there might not be any support at all.
Mm-hmm.
So what's one way for someone who is just totally orbiting
Mm-hmm.
to navigate, to find useful and meaningful assistance?
Well, that's a disparity. And the reason why I figured that out recently, actually how hard it was to navigate, is because, I am beginning to do more advocacy now, and looking to even do even more. On a daily basis, at least, people will try to contact me or talk. Kind of like, we don't know where to turn, we don't know where to go to.
Yeah.
Now, of course, technically, you can call your local mental health agency, but for the hundreds of African Americans that do, it's even thousands who really just don't even know how to find a mental health agency. It is in the paper, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It is on Google, it is. But when I say find it, I'm talking about in the literal sense. I mean actually having the support to get out of your bed and take the steps to go 5 miles to the agency and walk through the door. It's not as easy.
It's almost impossible.
It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible, even if you have a mental health agency, to pick up the phone and say, hey, I want to set up an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure as technology is concerned, most African Americans who are dealing, or minorities who are dealing, they know there's a mental health agency in the county.
Mm-hmm.
We get it.
Mm-hmm.
Access is there. Actually having the support to get it is the issue. There is no solution just yet because we don't have enough African American clinicians in the community. It's just not there. So at this time, there is no resolution besides us getting more African Americans to become interested in the helping professions, LCSW, LPCs, psychiatrists only make up like 2% of the entire psychiatrist world, which is insane.
Wow.
Psychologists, black psychologists, it's a small number as well. Until we get more funneled in that area, we don't have a solution. It's just not there.
What are some alternatives besides calling that 800 number, right? Besides, I don't know, but because if I'm thinking within my own head, from my experiences, if someone's all the way on the edge and they can't get out of the website, they don't even want to pick up the phone. Yes, there's no solution currently, but
There is alternates.
yeah.
Here are your alternates. So your alternate would have to be finding support unofficially. And it's kind of, when you're talking, I'm going back to what you first mentioned, people were kind of becoming more aware and being able to be aware. So this is the approach I thought of as an alternate. Now, of course, you have clinicians who have videos and things online, and we want people to tap into technology. So making sure that they know that when they're feeling on the edge, there is somewhere virtual they can go for that motivation. It may not seem like a lot, but really hearing someone saying something motivational or positive can really make you feel like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Okay. Our faith-based community is still strong. Even though we have, it is documented that more people are leaving churches in this day and age, it's still a bedrock of African Americans with spiritual people. And so, when I was in Atlanta, I was doing a little work with a few churches, so they'll have someone, because a lot of preachers, unless that preacher is qualified to do so, most times they're not. They need to have a resource to send people to.
Right.
And so that's what I was doing a little work in Atlanta about that. So starting with their church, that's one. Pick up the phone. They may feel comfortable calling a pastor or someone from their church. So technology, having motivational videos on your phone. I believe that, people on Facebook or social media all day, 1 billion plus users.
Right.
And so having motivational videos, using your faith-based community, and from our end, making sure that we keep on blasting out if this is available. That's how more and more people know. This is how no mass video works. Because even people who are on the edge, no matter, from those who are on the edge, for those who are having the crisis in the middle, moderately, and those who have just chronic illness. If you ask them something like, and I'll use this example, even though it's life coaching, I'll use this example. Ask them who a young one is, right? They'll be like, oh, maybe to fix my life. People know, right? But many of us don't have a multi-million-dollar marketing budget yet to let people know, hey, and they just can't pick up the phone and call a young. But what I'm saying is, mass communication works because people can identify where the helpers are.
Right.
So collectively, we'll all have to keep on pushing out there so people will know. I know a young, and I know Journey, she does it too. Oh, I know Cleveland too. Mass media. It works.
And consistency and consistency.
That's how people have to reach out until we get a bigger influx of people to go to. Because here's the thing, people are hitting me up, Journey, and I refer. And the clinician hit me back and be like, I already have 30 clients. Because it's not going to be enough to go around. At this time, just influx, mass media, technology, psychoeducation, so people know what to call. Call that 1-800 number. Person hit I know we have to go to another topic, but prime example, my friend in Shreveport, Louisiana, was having a crisis. She did pick up the phone. She did call the number. She called several people. No one had any openings. Black therapist, she was her first. So she went back to go to a white therapist. Because in that area, Shreveport, it's a small, group of clinicians. Small city. No one was available. Called 4 black clinicians. 2 never called back. 1 didn't accept insurance. 1 said they weren't calling back another day. Had to go to another person who's doing good service. She called a crisis line didn't pick up. It's not my first time hearing that. Like, they just didn't have the access.
That my niece was talking about.
It's bad. It's bad. We just gotta keep on pushing. Stress. It's called post-dating stress. I shy away from calling post-dating stress disorder yet, but it's post-dating stress symptoms.
Right. Now, when I first read that, I was reading the Bible, and I'm like, yeah. And I was trying to put the two together, but then when I thought about it, I'm like, that's real. I mean, that's real. That's, a lot of us don't make it out of relationships without some kind of trauma.
That's right.
Right? So tell me what's your angle on that? Like, what's your swing on that?
Well, of course, as Africans, I love relationship talk. Every time you turn around, somebody saying something about relationships, which is cool. But of course, I'm always gonna come from my peer review. And I was like, what made me start really thinking about it was, when I'm on social media, I started looking at post Journey, and it was interesting because, you see a couple posts about, man, I'm upset, guys ain't and all this other good stuff. But the more you read them, these aren't just small complaints about being heartbroken. A lot of the posts and conversations I have are people who are full of rage. Not just anger, rage. That started to concern me because I can can see being heartbroken and angry and sad. When I start seeing straight rage and hate towards love, the dating game, that's concerning to me. Because love, number one, is beautiful.
Right.
Love is beautiful. There is nothing more stronger than love. Love more than anything. I believe that. That's not even being optimistic. Love just works.
Right.
You know, married people live longer. We want to have marriages. That's statistical fact. Love is good. And so I do believe in it. I do believe in good relationships. We know statistically and medically they make you live longer. For a lot of derivative reasons, you take better care of yourself. You could be in better mental health. It's dual support. There are a lot of reasons there.
Right.
So for people to now, in this day and age, and in particular in our 25 to 44 age range, professional range, that's where a lot of the concentration of hate is, 25 to 45. And for our older daters, there's a lot there too. But we really see a lot of professional daters really angry. And so I began to deal in it a little bit more. And of course, you'll deal with people with PTSD and things like that all the time. And I began to talk to myself one day. I said, man, that trauma looks just like the same trauma from post-traumatic stress.
Right.
It's just emotional. I just kind of stumbled upon it. And I said, isn't that interesting? That you can be so jaded by dating, and I'm using jaded as a term purposely, but very gingerly. What I mean by that is have a whole bunch of bad dating experiences. It can happen on your journey. And get to the point where you're so sick and fed up that you feel emotionally you're tired and scarred. And it's hard to move on. You can't trust other people. You can't open up. Relationships are love about vulnerability.
It is.
And if you can't be vulnerable, you will never experience love how it's supposed to be experienced. That is.
What effect do you think how we move in society today?
Major. We're disconnected.
Yeah.
We're extremely disconnected. Because social media isn't the devil, but it is. Because it gives us the illusion that we know people and we don't.
Right.
You don't know them. This is true. You don't.
Right.
You know an image of them.
Right.
Have you been to their house? No. Do you really know what they're going through? No. They got a nice car. They smile with their family. Yeah. Behind this picture, do you know what's going on? No. Oh, she's getting married. Oh, he's getting married. They look so nice in the engagement pictures. I'm depressed now because nobody wants me. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's the influx of information, especially negative information that comes at us so fast, it's such an amount that it is having an impact on us. If you are in a circle, if you're in a group, and all that you see, besides talking to your friends, is, oh, did he do this? He did this to you? Yeah, he did this to me too. He did this to me too. So what happens is, in your microcosm, you would say, all men are dogs. And all of them ain't about nothing.
Right.
Because in your world, in your microcosm, it really does feel that way. That does become your reality. Of course, in real life, we know that all men are not dogs, all women are not hoes, or whatever you want to call it. We know that in real life.
Right.
But if you're inundated and bombarded by the same image from your peer view over and over again, you gotta believe it. And so we have those negative things, and the most negative images are bombarded at us in an influx. It's beginning to wear on our psyche.
Right.
And so now you have people that say, I'ma just do me. And I'm gonna hurt them before they hurt me. And I don't want to be committed to anybody else anymore. And so now it's having a big snowball effect. And you get to the point where you won't trust anybody anymore. I'm comfortable with saying there are a lot of people who are probably missing out on some good companionship because they just not willing to take a chance anymore.
Well, that's sad. Do you believe that there should be a period of mourning when relationships
You
are done?
must.
Like I think a lot of those the rage is coming because of unhealed wounds. And people are not giving ourselves, everything is a microwave, right? 2 minutes right now is forever for us. Like, why would we wait that long? But the mourning period should be.
Well, it's no different, kind of when you're going through, like the 5 stages of grief. We're showing there is no timeline. You may need a month, 2 months, 3 months, you may need a year. It just depends. So it's going to be different for everybody. It's going to depend on the trauma that you experience. And so there has to be, I like the word you use, mourning period. There has to be a mourning period. Because people are jumping from person to person and you're not healed yet. And so what happens is you jump from person to person, and each person you interact with means you perceive you get a negative experience. So it's like dragging this humongous bag. And it's just like you looking like Santa Claus. Except it's not presents, it's stuff. You know what I mean? So, you got lies here, you got deceit here, you got jealousy here. And you're going, well, let me pause for a minute. And process these lies. Okay, cool. Let me tuck that away, close this door, lock it. Now I can move on. That's how it should look. Right. But here's the thing, Journey. We don't like to be alone. Right. Loneliness.
I like that because you actually put a process to it. A lot of people can't even grasp what it looks like to process something properly. With that information, this is what I'm trying to put together because that's so valuable as adults. That a healthy relationship in itself can keep us away from the edge.
In the very near future, within the month, I'm going to, my goal right now is to transition actually a little bit away from doing straight psychotherapy and doing more like relationship talks and panels and advocacy indefinitely. That's what I want to get to, doing, traveling and doing that.
What does that look like for you?
What I would like to do is, when I was in Atlanta, I was doing something called Conversations with Cleveland. I was doing it on the south side there. And I would like to go to different cities around the country and just have these relationship talks, make sure, get good attendance, and it's blast on mass media as much as possible. Because people of all different races, nationalities are dealing with dating issues. And so for me, where I'm trying to get to professionally and as a public figure of a sort is to be able to just travel and talk about love and talk about going through that process. And the conversation with Cleveland, there would be a situation like this and a person would tell their story.
Right.
And so kind of similar to what you would do. But it was people from different mental diagnoses. But I want people to tell their stories about how they were hurt and guide them so that an audience can actually hear how the process works, how the process goes. So, I'm praying that I can launch that successfully. I'm praying that it can help some people grow, find love, and I do hope it's successful. One of the biggest issues that we face as a community is a family knowing how to help their loved ones or people who are close to them with mental illness or going through different mental health symptoms. So one of the things we have to do for our loved ones is we must educate ourselves. It's how we empower ourselves. One of the greatest tools is Google. It doesn't matter if your family or loved ones are going through some grief, going through the grieving process, understanding how the steps look. Maybe they're depressed. Maybe they have more severe psychotic disorders such as schizoaffective or schizophrenia. Knowing the signs, the symptoms, and what to look for so that you can provide them support and push them in the proper direction is extremely important. Also, besides you being empowered on the signs and symptoms, it's important to be empathetic, to understand that although you may not know what they're experiencing directly, to be there for them,
to provide them support when needed. That is extremely important. Sometimes people just need you to be there and present. Presence is so important. So I want to give you that encouragement for those of you out there who are looking to support and don't have the answers to deal with family and loved ones who have mental health conditions. Those are the two top things you can do. Be there for them, show empathy, as well as empower yourself with education about their mental health diagnosis so that you can know what the signs and symptoms are and what to look out for. Hopefully that's helpful. Thank you.